House will come back to order. The clerk will ring the bell. Huh? This house will come to order. Clerk will read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions. The clerk will read.
Commending Emma Brown of Appalachia High School's 2018 Star Student and valedictorian. Commending Denna Musgrove of Appalachia High School's 2018 Star Teacher. Commending Jackson Alvarez, Winder-Barrow High School's 2018 Star Student. Commending Brandon Mitchell, Winder-Barrow High School's 2018 Star Teacher. Commending Jeremy Bernius, Bethlehem Christian Academy in Barrow County's 2018 Star Student. Commending Mr. Chris Riley for his exceptional service to the state of Georgia. Commending Haley Cook, Mountain Area Christian Academy 2018 Star Student. Commending Jordan Newman, Fannin County High School's 2018 Star Student. Recognizing and commending March A. Thompson. Recognizing and commending Pat Harris on the occasion of her retirement. Honoring Sally White, Mary Ann Johnson, Laura Hamling, Laura Henry, Deborah Ewing, Sandra Bueller, Claire Barnett, Kay Kent, Claire Schnedecker, Judy Rayford, Lisa DeCarbo, and Sarah Winner, and for other purposes. Congratulating the City of Morrow on its 75 years of existence. Recognizing and commending J. Edward Ed Sprouse on the occasion of his retirement. Recognizing November 18, 2018 as Deputy Commander Patrick Carruthers Day. Celebrating the achievements and capabilities of young Georgians and recognizing September 2018 as Georgia Children and Youth Month at the state capitol. Recognizing and commending Benjamin Matthew Chandler on qualifying for the FLW College Fishing National Championship. Commending Lois Williams, Archer High School's 2018 Star Student. Commending Boudica Oggener, Archer High School's 2018 Star Student. Recognizing the academic accomplishments of Archer High School's Lois Williams and Dennis Crawford. Commending Joni Jameson, Archer High School's 2018 Star Teacher. Commending John Jameson, Archer High School's 2018 Star Teacher. Honoring the life and memory of Levi Kaysen Rudd. And recognizing March 2018 is Sudden Unexplained Death in Childhood Awareness Month at the state capitol. Recognizing and commending Dr. Cynthia James, the principal of Hawthorne Elementary School in Clayton County School District. Recognizing the 2017-2018 year of the East Point College Park Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. Recognizing and commending Dr. Robert J. Watkins on his outstanding service. Recognizing the month of July 2018 as Fibroid Awareness Month at the state capitol. Congratulating Merritt Reese on winning the GISA State Swimming Championship in the 500-yard freestyle. Recognizing and commending the 2018 Georgia Minority Business Awards. Commending Ariel Shaw on her outstanding service and recognizing the Real Leaders Read Initiative at Pates Creek Elementary School. Commending Shayna Bishop, Flat Shoals Elementary School 2018 Teacher of the Year. Commending Cassandra Barlow, McNair Middle School's 2018 Teacher of the Year. And honoring the life and memory of Dr. H. Kenneth Walker. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privileged resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privilege resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. Chair recognizes Representative Fleming for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 441 as amended by the House.
Representative Fleming has moved that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 441 as amended by the House. The clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 441 by Representative Fleming of the 121st, Morris of the 156th, Coomer the 14th, and others. Be entitled an act to amend Chapter 12 of Title 53 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to trusts, so as to establish qualified self-settled spendthrift trusts.
Chair recognizes Representative Fleming to explain the Senate substitute and the House amendment to House Bill 441.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 441 is a bill that we passed by a very large margin over to the Senate last session. Their committee acted on it and sent it back to us. It deals with making our trust laws competitive with other states around us. As far as the Senate changes in committee did further add improvements, I believe, to the bill to protect creditors. However, there was one amendment that brought contract disputes into trust law, which is nowhere else in our Georgia trust law. What I'm asking you to do is basically disagree with that one portion and send the bill back to them amended and try to get them to agree to that. I'd appreciate your favorable consideration, Mr. Speaker, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
You do not appear to have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the House amendment? It is AM 292792. Chair hears none. The amendment is adopted. On the gentleman's motion that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 441 as amended by this House, all those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the gentleman's motion, the ayes are 103, the nays are 56. And this House has agreed to the Senate substitute to House Bill 441 as amended by this House. Chair recognizes Representative Petrie for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 618. There were a very few number of very simple typographical errors that have been changed. Thank you.
Representative Petrie has moved that this House agree to the Senate amendment to House Bill 618. The clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 618 by Representative Petrie of the 166 to be titled an act to incorporate the city of Skidaway Island.
Chair recognizes Representative Petrie to explain the Senate amendment.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry I started to explain it a moment ago. Again, this is a bill that passed overwhelmingly. I think we had 3 no votes earlier this session. This is a bill that would incorporate the city of Skidaway Island in Chatham County. And unfortunately, when it got over to the Senate, we recognized there were a couple of very small typographical errors, really just clerical errors that have been corrected. A location where we had the number of council members in listed separately in different parts of the of the charter, and all that has been cleared up here. I think that's all I need to explain, Mr. Speaker,
You
unless
have
there are
no
any questions.
questions.
Thank you.
On the gentleman's motion that the House agree to the Senate amendment to House Bill 618, all those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the gentleman's motion, the ayes are 162. The nays are 1. This House has agreed to the Senate amendment to House Bill 618. Chair recognizes Chairman Hitchens for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 135.
Chairman Hitchens has moved that the House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 135. The clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 135 by Representative Hitchens, the 161st, Carter, the 175th, Tanner, the 9th, and others. Be titled an act to amend Code Section 47 to 226, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to certain law enforcement officers permitted to obtain credible service in the employees' retirement system of Georgia under certain conditions.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hitchens to explain the Senate substitute.
This is a bill that I adopted from Amy Carter that provided for local law enforcement officers to buy their local time up to 5 years if they paid the full actuarial cost. It passed overwhelmingly. What the Senate did was they added, this was just for the DDS people, those investigators and Department of Driver Services who were left out of the bill the previous year. What the Senate did was they added the Department of Corrections K-9 officers and investigators to the bill.
You do not appear to have any questions.
I yield the will.
On the gentleman's motion that the House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 135, all those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the gentleman's motion, the ayes are 157, the nays are 8. This House has agreed to the Senate substitute to House Bill 135. Chair recognizes Chairman Stevens for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 354.
Chairman Stevens has moved that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 354. The clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 354 by from Representative Stevens, the 164th, Representative Petrie, the 166th, and Gilliard, the 162nd, to be titled an act to amend Article 4 of Chapter 7 of Title 50, Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to the Georgia International and Maritime Trade Center, so as to reconstitute the Georgia International and Maritime Trade Center Authority.
Chair recognizes Chairman Stevens to explain the Senate substitute.
As you might remember, last year the Maritime Trade Center move from a local authority to a statewide authority, got to relate to the Senate. Of course, we had to change the date, and that is the only change in this bill. We moved from 17 to 18 so that we can make this bill effective. Mr. Speaker, if there's no questions, I'll yield the well.
You have no questions. On the gentleman's motion that the House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 354, all those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the gentleman's motion, the ayes are 154, the nays are 9. This House has agreed to the Senate substitute to House Bill 354. Chair recognizes Representative Fleming.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House insist on their position on Senate Bill 2.
Representative Fleming moves that the House insist on its position in disagreeing to the Senate substitute to Senate Bill 2. The clerk will read the caption.
Senate Bill 2 by Senator Dugan the 30th, Schaefer the 48th, Cowser the 46th, Gooch the 51st, Hill the 32nd, and others, be entitled an act to amend Chapter 60 of Title 36, Chapter 1 of Title 43, and Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions applicable to counties and municipal corporations.
Representative Fleming has, you want to explain your motion or just vote it? Okay. Chair recognizes Representative Fleming to explain his motion.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this bill had a little different path than some that you see before you, so I told the Speaker I would explain the motion. Some of you recall Senate Bill 2 came to the floor of the House a few weeks ago. It was the bill that dealt with, to a great extent, our state agencies and their permitting processes and our local governments and their permitting processes. The House overwhelmingly, well, rather by a large margin, defeated that bill on the floor, but there was a motion to reconsider. I worked with the House sponsor of the bill and brought back to you at a later time a version of that Senate Bill 2, which had a permitting process, regulation, a commission, I guess you would say, to try to make sure that there was best practices that were worked into all those permitting processes across the state. The House overwhelmingly passed that version of it by a very large margin. The Senate disagreed with that, and now we would insist, I would ask you, on our position, and so that probably they will insist and a conference committee can be appointed and we can continue to work on this issue. I'd be happy to answer any questions from the Speaker.
You have no questions.
Thank you, sir.
On the gentleman's motion that this House insist on its position on Senate Bill 2, is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and this House has insisted. Okay. Chair recognizes Representative Dickerson for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House agree to House Bill 513 as substituted by the Senate.
Representative Dickerson moves that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 513. Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 513 by Representative Dickerson of the 113th, Abrams of the 89th, Gardner of the 57th, and others, be entitled an act to amend Code Section Chapter 10A of Title 19 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to safe place for newborns, so as to provide for signs to be posted at certain medical facilities to indicate locations where a newborn child may be left.
Chair recognizes Representative Dickerson to explain the Senate substitute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. The only changes that were made to this bill was that they expanded the facilities to include fire station and police station, and also that the Department of Human Services would not be notified, and they would be the ones who would make the signs, and it would be consistent with the things that the Department of Human Services do already. If there are no questions, Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
You have no questions.
Thank you.
Lady has yielded the well. On the lady's motion that the House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 513, all those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the lady's motion, the ayes are 166, the nays are 0. This House has agreed to the Senate substitute to House Bill 513. Chair recognizes Chairman Hitchens for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move to agree to the Senate amendment to House Bill 135. That's correct. I did 135 a few minutes ago. It was 422.
Now we got it. Chairman Hitchens has moved that the House agree to the Senate amendment to House Bill 422. Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill number 422 by Representative Hitchens, the 161st Rogers, the 10th Corbett, the 174th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 4, Title 3080 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to the Department of Veterans Service, so as to authorize incorporation of a nonprofit corporation as a public foundation.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hitchens to explain the Senate amendment.
This was a bill that got passed through here last year. What it does is it provides for a 501c3 for the Georgia veterans, war veterans homes. So we had several affluent people, including some country music stars, that want to donate money to the homes. The last two meetings of the Defense and Veterans Affairs Committee over in the Senate last year got canceled, so it never got heard in a committee. So what happened, we went back this year, and the code section that had been assigned to it, 38.4-13, had already been utilized. So all this does is add a numerical number to it. It goes from 38.4-13 to 38.4-14.
Yeah.
If there are no questions, I yield the well, Mr. Speaker.
There are no questions. On the gentleman's motion that the House agree to the Senate amendment to House Bill 422, all those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the gentleman's motion, the ayes are 164, the nays are 0. And this House has agreed to the Senate amendment to House Bill 422. We have a supplemental rules calendar that is on your desk now. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1053.
House Resolution 1053 by Representative Jaspers of the 11th urging the United States Congress to create a reliable, predictable stream of resources to address deferred maintenance needs in America's national park system. This resolution has been referred to the Committee on Special Rules. That committee recommends that this resolution be adopted.
Chair recognizes Chairman Green to present the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring you House Resolution 1053, which is an urging resolution, and it's urging the United States Congress to create resources to address the deferred maintenance needs in America's national park system. The national park system preserves the diversity, the culture, and heritage of all Americans and serves as a living classroom for future generations. And in the state of Georgia, it is the home to 11 National Park Service units, 3 national heritage areas, and sections of 2 national trails. I urge the members to vote for this urging resolution. And Mr. Speaker, if there's no questions, I yield the well.
You have no questions? Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this resolution now be adopted? All those in favor of the adoption of House Resolution 1053 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. What purpose does Chairman Setzler rise?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Rule 133, I'd like to be excused from this vote, please.
Gentleman has that right. The journal will reflect. All those in favor of the resolution are voting aye. Those opposed are voting no. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the adoption of House Resolution 1053, the ayes are 159, the nays are 0. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Mr. Clerk, do we have a representative named LaHood? We do. When did he get here? And is there a senator named Harper? All these new people come in here. Do you pretend to be LaHood? When did you get here? February the 20th. And what is today? Well, I think Caldwell got a bill past his second day here, so he's still ahead of you. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 409.
Senate Bill 409 by Senator Harper the 7th, Albers the 56th, Mullis the 53rd, Jones the 25th, Gooch the 51st, and others, being entitled an act to amend Article 7 of Chapter 6 and Title 40, the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to negotiating railroad crossings and entering highways from private driveways. This bill having referred to the Committee on Motor Vehicles. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
What district do you represent? Okay, I'm just trying to make sure that you are, in fact, a member of the Georgia House of Representatives. Chair recognizes Representative LaHood to present the bill.
And thank you, members of the House. Appreciate you indulging me for my first time in the well. And I think it's pretty interesting that my training, if you will, in the well is on a bill about trains.
I mean, I could call him.
Senate Bill 409 passed through the Senate unanimously. It's a simple bill that improves the safety at railroad crossings. There's approximately 6,000 grade railroad crossings in the state of Georgia. Current law states that oncoming vehicular traffic must stop at railroad grade crossings when a train is approaching the gate and the gates are down. A flagman is at the crossing indicating that a train is approaching, or if a train is plainly visible. What Senate Bill 409 seeks to include is other on-track equipment in the definition of trains. So, over the years, railroad maintenance equipment has modernized and become larger and in some cases similar to the size and weight of locomotives. So, oncoming traffic needs to yield to this maintenance equipment, and that's what this bill seeks to do. The penalties do not change. It's a misdemeanor if this law is violated, and the penalty is similar to that of running a traffic light or a stop sign. And Mr. Speaker, if there's no questions, I'll yield the well.
Oh, better wait just a minute here. This may be the weakest job of presenting a bill. If the quantity of questions is any indication. I mean, my screen won't even contain all of the names.
Oh, brother.
That need further information. So with that, do you yield?
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Well, don't sound so enthusiastic. I mean, Chair recognizes the Majority Leader of the House for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Well, I've spent a full 3 months here, and I've been downtown quite often. And you've been here a month. I'm sure you've been downtown. But my question is about that big blue streetcar, I think they call them. Now,
he don't have to answer the question about whether he's been downtown.
oh, yes, sir.
I'll defend him on that one.
Thanks for helping me out on that one, Mr. Speaker. In the hotel district, oh, that may not even be any better there. But that in the area that the streetcar travels, and I think that's heavy, is that heavy rail?
I believe you know what you speak.
It's close enough. Won't this wreak havoc on the plans for the right-of-way for that streetcar downtown, and increase congestion if nobody can move, if they see that thing anywhere in the proximity? How will that work out? Have you considered that? I mean, I know the Senate gave you great consideration, great support here, but you know that is what it is when you get a full endorsement from the Senate. You have to defend this. So what do you think?
Well, Leader Burns, I think I trust the Senate on this one.
Some people you just can't help, can you?
trust that the Senate vetted this bill and our House Committee on Public Safety. And I trust these questions were raised there, and I'd love to hear what their responses were. And
Well,
I think I'm digging a hole deeper and
No,
deeper.
you've done really well. We'll be glad to work with you in the future as in positions of responsibility on carefully crafted legislation that moves over from the Senate to the House. I think you're an expert there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the Majority Caucus Whip, Representative Coomer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Thank you. I want to follow up with you on a discussion we started having a few minutes ago, and you kind of cut me off in the middle of my question. Looking at line 3 of your bill, there's a reference to exercising due care and caution. My question really is about the Constitution. If you look at Article 3, Section 6, Paragraph 6 of the Constitution, it says, the General Assembly shall not have the power to grant any donation or gratuity or to forgive any debt or obligation owing to the public. I think your bill clearly shows that the railroads owe an obligation to the public, an obligation of safe travel on the railroads and near the railroads. So how do you square your attempt to forgive them of their obligation to the public in your bill and that with the constitutional prohibition?
Great question. And I would just like to caution every driver out there, whether this bill passes or not, to look both ways before you cross the railroad.
You have another question that you need to, no indoctrination is complete unless the chair recognizes Representative Al Williams to your left for a question.
Yes, sir.
Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
It's so good to meet you. I hadn't. Now, is it not true that I promise to support this bill if you promise to get out of stand-up comedy?
You have my promise.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? You're out of order. You come back next year and I'll recognize you for that. Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines. And the clerk will have all members voted. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of the bill, the ayes are 166. The nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. was going to give him a wave. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 404.
Senate Bill 404 by Senator Brass of the 28th, Harper of the 7th, Albers of the 56th, Mullers of the 53rd, Jones of the 25th, and others. To be titled an act to amend Part 5 of Article 3, Chapter 5 of Title 12 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to public water systems so as to prohibit county, municipal, and other public water systems from charging or assessing a separate fee for standby water service for fire sprinkler system connections. This bill having referred to the Committee on Governmental Affairs. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Alan Powell to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you today Senate Bill 404. It's straightforward to the point. It just basically prohibits public water systems from assessing a separate fee for water service for fire sprinkler protection systems. Purpose of this is that right now when buildings put in sprinkler systems, they pay for their own piping and their own metering for a cutoff and a meter, and that water system's never used except in the case of a fire or an emergency. And what they found and what the fire marshal and them have found is that a lot of the jurisdictions are charging minimum fees or whatever fee they want to on a water outlet that's not being used except in the case of a fire and an emergency. Some of the reports that I had heard, there was one church that was being assessed $275 a month as a minimum fee for water that they weren't using. And because of that, there's a lot of concern that a lot of the buildings, commercial and otherwise, aren't voluntarily putting in these sprinkler systems, or they're running them off the potable water. This would prohibit that practice, so that once a fire system, if it's separately metered, that they can't do these minimum fees and such like that for water that's not being used. They can only charge for water that's ever used. Be glad to answer any questions, and if not, I'd appreciate your favorable consideration.
You have no questions. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 404 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 404. The ayes are 116, the nays are 52. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1374.
House Resolution 1374 by Representative Harrell of the 106th and others, creating the House Study Committee and Professional Licensing Boards operating and funding. This resolution having been referred to the Committee on Special Rules. That committee recommends this resolution be adopted.
Chair recognizes Representative Harrell to present the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this resolution would form a study committee to look at the somewhat 41 licensed professions that are currently attached to our Secretary of State's office. As you know, some of those professions have as few as 42 active licenses. Others have almost 90,000 active licenses. We're going to look at the efficiency of those boards' operations, the charges that those licenses entail. With that, I'd ask your favorable consideration. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
You have a couple of questions if you care to yield.
Yes, sir, I'd be glad to.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dickey to your left for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir, I do.
Could you tell me how many years it's been since we passed this identical legislation?
A study committee?
Yes.
I think maybe a couple of years ago, perhaps.
It was in, actually it was in 2013. I was just curious if you've read the results of that study committee.
I have not. What I have read is the results of our Georgia Occupational Regulatory Review Council that is statutorily required to do these updates every 7 years, and they have not done so.
Okay, I was just checking to see if this need for this study committee might be a reflection on our on the chairman of the previous one. So
I would certainly not think that the case.
So thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, I'll yield the will.
Being ordered, the chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this resolution now be adopted? All those in favor of the adoption of House Resolution 1374 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the adoption of House Resolution 1374. The ayes are 165. The nays are 1. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 327.
Senate Bill 327 by Senator Albers, the 56th, and Harper, the 7th, to be entitled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 16, Title 45 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to death investigations, so as to clarify when a medical examiner's inquiry is required to be conducted. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hitchens to present the bill.
Mr. Speaker, it's in my day. Members of the House, I rise today to present Senate Bill 327, which deals with death investigations. And essentially, it incorporates the old death investigations regulations regarding when an autopsy or death investigation is required. But at the end, what it does is it adds in that the county coroner or county medical examiner can also ask for a death investigation if all the requirements are not met. That is, that it doesn't prohibit in any way a death investigation if the initial requirements aren't met. And I'll stand for any questions, Mr. Speaker.
You have questions if you care to yield.
I'll be glad to yield, sir.
Chair recognizes Representative Bentley to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
And this is a serious question. Is it not true that when someone passes away from situations such as this, it takes an extremely long time for the family to get their death certificates?
My experience that it can be a terribly long time. The investigation has to be completed, and some of them take, as I've dealt with them, that have taken up to a year.
Is there anything in your bill that will kind of help expedite the family getting some type of notification that of the family member passing away to get to the insurance companies?
It doesn't address it whatsoever. It deals with when investigations will be handled and under what circumstances.
But is it not true that when it takes such a long time to get those death certificates to the families can't get their business taken care of, and the funeral home can't get paid either. Is that not true? Thank you, sir. Thank you for your work on the bill. This is a really good bill, but that's just, thank you.
I understand completely, having been involved in it many times. I further yield.
You have no further questions.
I yield the will.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 327 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of Senate Bill 327, the ayes are 167, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 355.
Senate Bill 355 by Senator Huffstetler, the 52nd, Miller, the 40th, Tippins, the 37th, Kirk, the 13th, Perrin, of the 42nd, and others. To be entitled an act to amend Code Section 46-2-25 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to procedure for changing any rate, charge, classification, or service and recovery of financing costs. This bill having been assigned to the Committee on Economic Development and Tourism, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Welch to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, I present to you Senate Bill 355. You may recall that about, several years ago, Georgia Power had purchased about 3,000 acres in Stewart County, Georgia. And in April of 2016, it announced that it had purchased this property and intended to study the area for another nuclear power facility. At the time, the PSC was unaware of the purchase, and then thereafter requested $90 million to study Stewart County as a proposed location for another nuclear power plant. In looking at the law that pertains to the construction work in progress pre-financing, the QIP pre-financing that was adopted by the Georgia General Assembly in 2009, it granted Georgia Power the authority to finance nuclear power facilities and the construction of nuclear power facilities through an advanced charge on the ratepayers. This bill simply isolates the QIP funding to Vogel's plants 3 and 4. So the date you see there that's added to the language in the existing law would only apply to Vogel 3 and 4, and thus those that were commissioned by the PSC prior to January 1st, 2018. If Georgia Power wishes to build a subsequent nuclear power facility in the state of Georgia, they would need to come back to the General Assembly to ask for permission to use this QIP financing on any subsequent nuclear power plants. That is effectively what the bill does. Mr. Speaker, I'll take any questions.
Chair recognizes Representative Dreyer to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that the Plant Vogel projects 3 and 4 were supposed to originally cost $14.3 billion, but because of cost overages, that is currently anticipated to exceed $23 billion to complete?
I cannot confirm those numbers, but I believe you know of what you speak.
Okay, and does the gentleman further yield?
I do.
And isn't it true that under the current QIP system that Georgia Power is allowed to collect profit on any overages on the construction of Plant Vogel 3 and 4?
I understand that they have a fund that they're keeping in terms of any overages from that amount. Whether or not that is determined profit or not, I don't know.
Thank you for this bill.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, if there are no other questions, I yield the will.
No further questions. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 355 will vote aye. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of Senate Bill 355. The ayes are 168, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 353.
Senate Bill 353 by Senator Anderson to the 24th, Jones to the 25th, Stone to the 23rd, Albers to the 56th, Dugan to the 30th, and others. The entitled act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 15, entitled 25 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to regulation of boilers and pressure vessels, so establish civil enforcement and penalty authority and the Safety Fire Commissioner for violations concerning the regulations. This bill having referred to the Committee on Insurance, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Howard to present the bill.
I think I'll make it. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues of the House of Representatives. I bring to you Senate Bill 353. What I would like to believe is a simple bill. And this bill was brought to me by way of Senator Lee Anderson, which is out of the Augusta area, and Chairman Smith and Chairman Epps on the House side. And I want to thank each one of those gentlemen for having confidence in me to bring this bill to you. And one thing that led them to ask me to bring this bill was, if you remember, about a few weeks ago, we had the family of a deputy, a fallen deputy that lost his life in the line of duty. And this resolution, this Senate bill addresses the issue in the case of a deputy or anyone that may lose their life in the case of liquid nitrogen, whereas boilers and pressure valves are being used in the place of businesses, hospitals, schools, and many other locations. We have about 54,000 boiler pressures and pressure valves that are being used across the state. So what this bill does is increase the fines for civil action to a total of up to $5,000, whereas before this, the insurance commissioner and the fire marshals from across that lead the state on inspecting these locations for boiler pressures and pressure valves, the maximum fine was $500. So that fine has been increased in this bill to $5,000 in order to try to bring some remedy or some precautions, or make the businesses and other locations like that use these liquid nitrogens in their operations to follow the inspections, and that the fire marshals have to come by and inspect those locations. So in simple terms, we're changing the bill, changing the amount from 500 to 5,000, and we would like to get your support to make this happen, and would like your favorable support in supporting this bill. Thank you. And Mr. Speaker, I'll yield for a couple of questions if.
You have no questions.
All right, thank you.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 353 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of Senate Bill 353, the ayes are 164, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 342.
Senate Bill 342 by Senator Harbin of the 16th, Albers the 56th, Watson the 1st, Thompson the 14th, Brass the 28th, and others. Being entitled, an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 2, at Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to the registration and licensing of motor vehicles generally, so as to permit the owner or operator of a vehicle which has a valid number license plate without the required revalidation decal affixed to the plate to retain custody of the vehicle under certain conditions. This bill having referred to the Committee on Motor Vehicles, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Barr to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the clerk did a fabulous job with the bill, so I hope you all vote for it. I'll put it in simpler terms. If you have a valid license plate and you, for some reason, forgot to renew the revalidation sticker, the current law says that your vehicle shall be towed. And in simple terms, we're repealing that shall and making it a $50 fine. I've heard the stories of families being left on the side of the road because mom forgot or dad forgot to revalidate their sticker. And so in the law it says shall. So we're making this to a fine. Mr. Speaker, I yield for any questions.
You do have a couple of questions. Do you yield?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dollar to your left for a question.
Thank you. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
This is something that came up a few years ago, and I don't know that, I'm guessing the answer is no, but I'm not sure if this is something that the bill delves into. But in the situation you just described, the ticket is written to the person driving the vehicle, even though it's not their car. Even if the person who owns the vehicle is present in the car, the ticket has to be issued to the driver. And I'm not sure if this bill addresses that at all, but I've always thought it was something that we might be worthwhile delving into.
I believe on line 18 we do insert owner.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What does the gentleman further yield?
Please.
How would that then go if somebody borrows your car or whatever, and the owner is not present in the car? Who is that ticket then issued to?
Then it would be the operator.
Okay.
Yes,
so
sir.
if the owner is in the car, because the owner is in the vehicle, then the ticket can or shall be issued to them.
It does not. It just has the owner, and then afterward it does say the operator.
Okay. All right. I'll have to read the bill a bit more further, but thank you for
I
your
apologize.
Work.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, with that, I yield the well and ask for favorable consideration for Senate Bill 342. Thank you.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 342 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of Senate Bill 342. The ayes are 167, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes Chairman Rick Jaspers for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to make a motion that we remove the amendment on your desk, AM 33177, and replace it with AM 1770. And I move that we agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 769 as amended by the House in AM 1780.
Chairman Jaspers has moved that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 769 as amended by the House. He is withdrawing Amendment AM 331771. Is there any objection to the amendment being withdrawn? The chair hears none, and the amendment is withdrawn. He is offering Amendment AM 331780. Chair recognizes Chairman Jaspers. I'm sorry, the clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 769 by Representative Jaspers, the 11th England of the 116th, Pile of the 171st, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 4 of Title 26 and Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to pharmacists and pharmacies and health, respectively, so as to implement recommendations from the House Rural Development Council relating to health care.
Chair recognizes Chairman Jaspers to explain the Senate substitute and the amendment to House Bill 769.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Sorry about the little movement in amendments there, but we had to change one here with the recent conferee with the Senate. This is our, 769 was our bill that we worked on for the Rural Development Council as it relates to health in Georgia. We had been through the Senate, agreed, and we had a few changes we wanted to make, really sticking to our position on a number of things. We did find one mistake, and it's in that first part, line 1 and 2, and it is correct. It will take 7 years for the first group to get started, and then it's 5 years thereafter. In this line 3 and 4, we're talking about penalties, and if you remember back in that bill, we're trying to make sure that all those who are trained by this group do the training. So we're sticking hard, and I believe the Senate, they will agree to this. So I appreciate your favorable consideration on the amendment to 769. Thank you. Be glad to answer any questions if there are any.
You have a question if you care to yield.
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Representative Gilligan to your right for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
I know you explained it, but I just need to make sure I understand. So when on line 94, when we are replacing the word 5 with the word 7, does that mean in every 7 years thereafter, or is it just the first 7 years and then it's every 5 years thereafter?
It'll take 2 years to get going, and then 5 years. And then if you look on line 95, it's every 5 years thereafter.
Okay, so that 5 remains.
Yes, ma'am.
So, thank you very much.
You have no further questions.
I yield the well. Thank you.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the amendment? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and the amendment is adopted. On the gentleman's motion that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 769 as amended by the House, all those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the gentleman's motion, the ayes are 167, the nays are 1. This House has agreed to the Senate substitute, House Bill 769, as amended. What are they doing? All right, listen up for your calendar purposes. Senate Bill 8 on the rules calendar will be postponed till the next legislative day. House Resolution 1036 will be postponed until the next legislative day. House Resolution 1107 will be postponed until the next legislative day. What purpose does Representative Corbett rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
I move that the rules be temporarily suspended so that a bill may be read for the first time and assigned to committee.
Representative Corbett has moved that the rules of this House be temporarily suspended to allow a bill to be read for the first time and assigned to committee. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it is so ordered, and the clerk will read the caption.
Unnumbered House Resolution by Representative Corbett of the 174th and others honoring the life of SPC Jackie Marcel Morgan and dedicating a bridge in his memory.
Transportation. What purpose does Chairman Cooper rise?
To make a motion, Mr. Speaker.
State your motion.
I move that Senate Bill 166 be moved from the House Health and Human Services Committee to the Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee. Both chairmen are in agreement.
Chairman Cooper has moved that Senate Bill 166 be withdrawn from the Health and Human Services Committee and recommitted to the Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee. Clerk will read the caption.
Senate Bill 166 by Senator Unneman of the 45th be titled an act to amend Chapter 26 of Title 43, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to nurses so as to enter into an interstate compact known as the Nurse Licensure Compact to authorize the Georgia Board of Nursing to exercise certain powers with respect to the compact.
On the lady's motion that Senate Bill 166 be withdrawn from the Health and Human Services Committee and moved to the Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee. Is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so ordered. What purpose is Representative Carpenter just standing there looking at me? Rise.
Make a motion, sir.
State your motion.
I move that the rules be temporarily suspended so that Senate Bill 484 may be read for the first time and assigned to committee.
Representative Carpenter has moved that the rules of the House be temporarily suspended to allow a bill to be read for the first time and assigned to committee. Is there objection? Is there objection? Chair hears none. The clerk will read the caption.
Senate Bill 484 by Senator Payne of the 54th and Mullis of the 53rd to be entitled an act to exempt the city of Dalton from the election requirement of subsection A of Code Section 3682, 61.1 of the official code of Georgia annotated.
On the gentleman's motion, there was no objection. The bill is assigned to the Intergovernmental Coordination Committee. If you have signed up for an announcement, be making your way to the front of the chamber. We have several committees that need to meet this afternoon, so we're going to move quickly. While everybody's coming up, I want you to help me join with me in wishing a happy birthday tomorrow, March 22nd, to Representative Pat Gardner. Representative Gardner. Chair recognizes Representative McLean for a announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just wanted everyone to know that we are off tomorrow, but the Georgia Working Families Legislative Caucus, a luncheon will be tomorrow at 12 noon and 3:07, and we'll be talking about the Criminal Justice Reform Report. So hopefully you can come and get you a lunch at 12 o'clock.
Chair recognizes Chairman Chuck Martin for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just wanted to remind the members of the Budget and Fiscal Affairs Oversight Committee we will meet immediately upon adjournment in our original committee room, CLOB 506. We have a presentation on the pension system by Leonard Gilroy. He flew in to talk to us today. I hope y'all will make it over there.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hitchens for an announcement.
The Defense and Veterans Affairs Committee will meet tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., 415 CLOB.
Chair recognizes Chairman Cooper for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Health and Human Services Committee will meet this afternoon in room 606. Let's make it at, how about 3:40? Yeah. As soon as we get through. 3:45 by the time we get out of here, so that'll give you 15 minutes. Health and Human Services, 606, 3:45.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dollar for an announcement.
Thank you, Speaker. Tomorrow, members or representatives from ALEC will be here to provide lunch and give a presentation on congressional term limits. Many in the body are members of ALEC. This is for members and non-members, members of both caucuses. It will be tomorrow at 11:45 and 4:03, right upstairs. 11:45, lunch starts, the program starts at 12. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Ballinger for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Juvenile Justice Committee will meet upon adjournment in room 415 in the CLOB. We have a couple of Senate bills that we're going to be hearing, so please everybody come CLOB 415 upon adjournment.
Chair recognizes Chairman Welch for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Public Safety Appropriations Subcommittee will meet in CLB 406 upon adjournment. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Coleman for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Remind everyone that tomorrow on the Education Committee we'll meet at 2 o'clock, room 606 CLOB for an education meeting. 2 o'clock, 606 CLOB.
Chair recognizes Chairman Golick for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Judiciary Non-Civil will meet tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in room 406 LOB. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Harden for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Special Rules Committee will meet tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., CLOB 515. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Kelly for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Ways and Means Committee will meet at 4 p.m. today in Capitol 403.
Chair recognizes Chairman Alan Powell for an announcement.
Members of the Public Safety Homeland Security Committee, we're going to have a meeting tomorrow, a very short meeting. I'm sorry I can't tell you the time or the location because we've got to find a room, but if you will, check with your office and check your email.
Chair recognizes Chairman Pruitt for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The State Planning and Community Affairs Committee will meet immediately in 515 CLOB at 3:30. Get there as quick as you can. Thank you.
That completes our announcements. The chair recognizes the majority leader for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move this House stand in recess until 4 p.m. today and then stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Friday, March 23rd, 2018.
Majority Leader has moved that this House be in recess until 4 o'clock p.m. today, at which time we would stand adjourned until Friday, March 23rd at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it. This House will be in recess until 4 o'clock p.m., whereupon we will stand adjourned until Friday, March 23rd at 10 a.m.